success has made a failure of our home.
By the fall of 1992, Sinead O'Connor seemed intent on destroying her own stardom. Her third album, Am I Not Your Girl, was a commercially toxic compilation of classic torch songs.
People bought it because it was the new Sinead O'Connor album, but it was not the right record to put out at that stage in her career.
And in the months to come, Sinead's actions would guarantee her exile from the pop mainstream. In October of '92, Sinead had caught wind of a scandal unfolding within the Catholic Church, a scandal that struck very close to home.
There were children who were being sexually abused by priests in Ireland, or who had been sexually abused by priests in Ireland, whom the Vatican knew of, but who the Vatican were doing nothing to help the families or the survivors of, and in fact were silencing the families. So I began to discover the lies. You know, and having grown up such a pious child and loved God and loved religion, I was raging that these people were actually turning people away from God.
As a victim of abuse herself, she intended to draw attention to the scandal and put child abuse on the international agenda. She would begin with her next television performance.
I knew exactly what I was doing, and I knew that it would take years for it to become apparent what I was doing, and I was prepared to ride that.
Once again, Sinead O'Connor.
On October 3rd, she took to the Saturday Night Live stage and sang an a cappella version of Bob Marley's anthem, War.
Until the philosophy which holds one race superior.
I sang the song and changed it, where he had used the word racism, I had changed it for child abuse.
Child abuse, yeah. Child abuse, yeah. Subhuman bondage.
Then she committed an act so controversial that to this day NBC refuses to allow it to be rebroadcast.
Over evil.
She held up a photo of Pope John Paul II and ripped it in pieces, shouting, "Fight the real enemy."
There was just complete silence in the studio.
They gasped, like, you know, oh my God.
And I was like, yeah, go. That's fantastic.
Fair play, lady, if that's what you feel, do it.
I just thought, what is she doing? She's ruining herself.
Actually, I was just worried that somebody might kill her.
The reaction was swift. She had ignited a media firestorm.
Sinead O'Connor tore up a picture of the Pope.
O'Connor outraged Catholics and lots of other people across the country.
Until she apologizes, we've got to say, do not buy her material.
I remember seeing the TV and steamrollers running over CDs. Wow, that's a lot of hatred.
So are you driven to say these things?
Well, okay, yes, I'm driven. I made myself a promise when I was a child that if God got me out of the hell that I was living in, that I would work for him in some way and try to help. And I also, I'm driven to fight against child abuse, and I'm driven to fight against those who use God's name to do evil.
But at the time, Sinead's message was poorly conveyed. Few understood how her act of defiance was connected to her personal history of abuse. She became a pariah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sinead O'Connor.
The anger was still palpable 13 days later when she showed up to perform at a Bob Dylan tribute concert at Madison Square Garden. She was greeted by a thundering mixture of cheers and jeers.
There was this incredible sound, this clashing of voices, of this vocalizing of these good and bad, as I saw it, good and evil having a war vocally with each other, you know. This incredible, like, bash of sounds together, you know, it was really amazing. The sound itself was making me want to puke. It was the most incredible sound I've ever heard. But then what happened was the noise was so loud that there was no point me doing the song I was scheduled to do, which was I Believe in You. So then I thought, well, f this. I'm going to sing another Bob song. What I did is I roared the same song that I had ripped the picture up on, which was the war song.
Okay, turn this up. Until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior.
And I screamed it so as I would get above this big noise.
I've got to say war!
This was about child abuse, and no was actually going to let me get off my chorus here.
Child abuse, yeah!
Not even the dread of this hatred was going to get me off the course that I knew I was right on.
Everywhere is war!
As she left the stage, she collapsed into Chris Christopherson's arms.
I almost barfed on him, which is quite funny. He always jokes about how the first time he met me, I almost threw up on him. It was such a weird noise, it just made me want to throw up.
Finally, news just in, Sinead O'Connor has announced that she will give up her career as a singer in response to the hostile reception she received on stage at the Bob Dylan tribute concert in New York.